Hello friends, it's me, your old pal Jared. I'm here talking about Janthopoyism. Today is Janthopodcast episode 6. Can you believe that we have come this far? I can, because it's been a lot of work. This is an awesome episode. It's actually my favorite because we're discussing Book 5, The External Worship. This is huge to me. It's something that's massive to my heart. It's basically my entire life. This is how, I can't even tell you how this book has integrated itself into literally every single thing I do. It's my first thought in the morning, it's my last thought at night. It's taken me over, which is great because it really is a testament to its power and fills me with confidence that this is such a fundamental point of what we're teaching. And unlike the majority of these books, this one starts with quite a in-depth and personal introduction, which is chapter 5.1, The History of Janthopoyism. An interesting title, considering we're already coming to the end of the book and now we're giving the history. And I'm not actually going to go into it too much in this podcast. It's not really necessary, but I'll just give a quick overview of what it is. But basically, it predates Janthopoyism, what we're talking about, and it was a self-help book that I was working on completely separate. There's nothing really too spiritual about it, and it was a system I developed called the Skew System. And the idea was, much like how I was obsessed with finding the golden thread that connects all of religions and my studies of them, likewise, I also read a lot of self-help material. I find whenever there's something that bothers me about myself or about life or something I feel I could do better at, there's a book about it. So I read a lot of them. And again, I just became fascinated with what could be a central theme that tied them all together, try to kind of sit them down to a rudimentary form. And I figured I discovered that in some ways, and what I eventually kind of concluded, or no, what I hypothesized rather, was that all of negative feelings, especially those of depression, were external, were circumstantial, and that by fixing up components in your life, you could solve all your misery. So I went about developing a program that kind of tested this theory. How I went about that is a divide and conquer mentality. So it was about splitting life into 5 different sections. Those sections are health, relationships, home, work, and spirit. And by focusing on each of these using this program, the idea was that you could get a real good balance of everything important in life, and in doing so, eliminate all negative feelings. So I really went into this and committed myself to this, and after a year or so, I kind of realized that it wasn't that simple, and there was other factors to negative energies. But I uncovered something way cooler, in my opinion. It was just that life itself, if you do this, just zooms forward because there's less stuff clogging up your mind. There's less immediate troubles that are hindering you from finding your true path and being the best person you are and living a life that you love, because you're getting rid of these tiny little annoying things like what we call low quality conflict. Stuff like you don't like your boss, or you're a bit sick, or your neighbors are too loud. These kind of little things that are nagging are actually just little hindrances that are taking us off of the path that we should be on. And even though they are creating conflict, which is something that we accept and we love, it's low quality conflict. What we want to do is get rid of those, so life has ability to give us high quality conflict that is more designed for us. Stuff that's that only you could solve. Having your heart broken, sure, hugely painful, massive conflict, and the way you would deal with that would be unique, that the universe has never seen before. But still, it's a very common problem, and something that if you could never have that again, you could concentrate on more specific problems that no one else in the world would even have the ability to solve in your manner. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. Getting rid of silly, low-quality conflicts that are very commonplace in the universe, and instead trying to get onto our true path, which moves fast, and the automated design of conflict will bring into our journey such unique and intensely potent conflict that is completely congruent with who you are as a person, and that you can solve, that someone else would not be able to solve. So that's kind of getting ahead, because the main point was I had my spiritual philosophies, which was something that I never really thought about writing about. I didn't really think that it was for me. My own philosophies were things that I thought were personal, and they, to me, I couldn't understand why anyone would be interested in them. But when I was traveling around South America, I definitely felt this connection between these two ideas, my spiritual philosophy and the self-help program I was developing. And when those two came together, it was like, I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. What is this? This is a whole new thing. And it kept snowballing. That's the point. Like, I had this kind of connection in my head, and this electricity just went, but then it didn't end there. It wasn't like a click realization. It was like a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was like, whoa, I've really, really got something here. And then I kind of went, this kind of feels like a religion, because what else is a religion besides for a spiritual philosophy meets a self-help program? So I was like, ooh, should I write this? This is a bit weird. But obviously I did, because I have to remain true to myself. I need to, we always question our decisions based on what other people might think. Janthopoyism teaches that's not what we should do. It should be like, is this true to me? If I don't do this, will it never exist? And in so, that's a crime against universal creation. You've got to create, and this wouldn't exist if I didn't do it, so I had to do it. So, yes, I went too deep into this. I didn't think I was going to talk so much, but it's just about what this system really is about worshipping the stuff that makes you happy, aka your internal universe, aka the energy inside of you, your soul, whatever you want to call it. But to do so, you have to appease the mind. Make sure the mind is chilled. When you have these little nagging bits all running around, things that are just lower conflict and lower quality conflict, you're distracted. So we're just trying to get a regular maintenance to fix up the brain and keep it quiet. And this is super. The reason why we call this a worship, it's the books 5 and 6 are both worships. This is the external worship, because what we're saying is you've got to take this as a proper regular thing. You've got to commit to this as a dedication. But I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. Even if you think every other book was just full of rubbish, this book, no matter who you are, is life changing. And you're going to hear what I'm going to say now, and you're going to go, yes, of course, it makes complete sense, it's logical, it's not airy-fairy mysticism. This is just very practical, a way of just fixing up your whole life. And whether you do that on the view of just trying to be a better person and enjoy your life more, or you do it in a way that in Janthopoyism more is teaching to sync more with your true path. Either which way, it doesn't matter, because this is gonna rock your world. Okay, moving on to chapter 5.2, how to run the skew system. I'm going to explain to you how this works right now, but don't do it right away. Don't hear me and then stop listening and then go run off and do it. Listen to this, then we're going to go through the next chapters, which are all about taking the different sections and elaborating on them, because they're not as simple as you think. But so once you hear the whole thing, a good idea is to come back to this bit, or even just go and read the scripture, and there you can run it and understand exactly how it works. It's gonna make sense now, but it's gonna make even more sense when we finish this whole thing, if that makes sense. So this is the skew system. Okay, so the first thing you do is you need to pick a day of the week. I do Mondays. Why do I do Mondays? Because on Mondays the flaws of life are the most obvious. That's when Mondays are hard often. So when you evaluate your life on a Monday, you can really feel what's wrong. If you do this, run the system on a Friday, you run the risk of being like, woo, everything's all right, and you don't really notice the problems because you have that Friday high or that Saturday high. Picking whatever is your worst day of the week is a good idea, because that's where you will see the problems. And you want to kind of have a time slot just for some regularity, and this is why we call it worship, because it's like a routine, it's like a ceremony in a way, like not really a ceremony, but it's what we do to worship life. And so it's nice to have a regular thing, just like Christian church on a Sunday. Do it like this because if you want to, but I recommend it because it actually makes it more fun. It makes it more ritualistic. You know what I mean? So there we go. So then you take what you want as a piece of paper and a pen, or you can do it digital, or however you want to do it, and then you write out the 5 skews, which I've already discussed, and that's health, relationships, home, work, and spirit. And I do recommend you go read the scripture as well, because there's a lot of little tips that I give as time goes on. But what matters is that you're going to take these skews and you're going to rate each one out of 10. Also, keep in mind you can use 0.5s. It's encouraged to use 0.5s. So, because sometimes things don't feel like a 6, don't feel like a 7, they feel like a 6.5 or whatever. So you rate these other numbers out of 10. Don't worry too much about this. Don't overthink it. Whatever number feels right, because there is no right or wrong. This is your personal journey. It's also something that you'll get better at. It's also sometimes you'll rate something and it doesn't feel quite right, so you just change the ratings. It's not a strict thing. You got to be loose. You got to play with it. You got to just feel it out. But it's just numbers, and especially in these beginning sessions, it might be a little bit confusing, but just do your best to find the number that resonates most accurately for each skew. So you rate your health out of 10, your relationships out of 10, your home out of 10, your work out of 10, your spirit out of 10. Don't worry, we're going to explain which each of those are much deeper. So don't go ahead, you're just getting the basics now. I also just once again recommend you read the scripture, because we do say, like, some people tend to rate really low. If you're finding that your skews are all like 6 and below, add 0.5. If they're like 5 and below, add a whole point. Like, it's not cheating, we're just raising up the average, because if you're rating really, really low like that, you're probably just not great at self-diagnosis. You might be a little bit hard on yourself. And also by adding those numbers on, it can actually help to bring up your energy anyway. So yeah, if you rate really low, it's good to just knock them all up by a little bit. Also, if you're rating really high, that's a problem too. You should never ever be rating a 10 out of 10. Never. That means that you're better than it can't ever be better. You've achieved a limit that no one in the world has ever achieved. I mean, even a 9, for me, a 9 means this is the best my life has ever been. But again, it doesn't matter what anyone else rates. A 10, an 8 for me could be a 6 for you. It doesn't matter. This is so personal, so don't worry too much. You're just trying to get a basic value assigned to each of these things. What we recommend you do then is you add those numbers up, and you're going to get a score out of 50. Double that, and you got a percentage of how your overall life is going. It's nice to do this because you kind of get a sort of idea of how your general well-being is, and it's also good because week after week you can compare how your general well-being is going up or down or whatever to gauge improvement. But it's not super important. But it is nice because then you get a general, like, say you like, ooh, my overall percent is 78%, but I don't really feel 78%, then it probably means one of your skews have been rated a bit wrong, and you should go back and look at it. But mostly this is just more of a fun measurement. It's not the most important thing. The most important thing really is what we call the strongest link and the weakest link. So first we start the strongest link. Now, what's interesting once you do this and you look at your strongest links number, that is the number that's achievable for you. So if there's something, if some of your stuff is 6, but like one of your things is 8, for example, then you know that in your mind and your mental limitations, 8 is possible. All of them can hit 8 because you can see that number being achievable. So the idea really initially is that you want all your skews to be that same number as your strongest link, and then from there you keep rising. But right now we know that that number, according to your brain, is achievable, which is great. But actually what we're super looking at is the weakest link. This is where the skew system actually runs. The weakest link is the thing that's the lowest, and it's in your life that needs the most attention, and you need to raise that up because it's letting the whole team down. So obviously you're saying it's not that simple, I can't just sort out these problems. Here is what we propose. Well, this is how the skew system's magic runs. In 1 week's time, so you run the session, and in 7 days time you're going to run the session again. Your entire goal for the following week is to raise that weakest link score by 0.5. That is all. That's all. We're not saying solve all your problems. We're saying just by next week, and just your weakest link, don't worry about the other skews, just that weakest link, raise it by 0.5. You got to find any way you can do that. It can be, you can go, I know exactly how I can do that. I just need to speak to this person, or I need to stop doing this one thing. Or it might be just tiny things like, oh, I need to research something, or I just need to just change this one behavior, like something that's very simple. It can be anything at all, but all you got to do is just get it so that by the time the next week rolls around, you can say with an honest conscience, yes, yes, I deserve a 0.5, even if just because I put effort into it. And so the next week rolls around, and then you rerun the skews system, and you rate each of those out of 10 again, and then you say, look, did the weakest link go up by 0.5? Amazing if it does. If it didn't, then you got to go, okay, well, what went wrong? Why didn't it? I have to do this again. And each week you do this again and again and again and again, and that's pretty much it. But the point is that the skews will rise and skews will fall. Every week the weakest link might change. And then as soon as a new weakest link drops to the lowest score, your focus shifts to that weakest link. And then the next week, you got to rise it by 0.5. That's the main thing. Don't worry about rushing the results. You've just got to commit to the procedure. And if you keep trying week after week to raise this weakest link by 0.5, you will get it. It's statistically, that's how it works. You practice it, you find new things, you try things, and eventually you go, I do feel a bit better this week, and you raise it by 0.5, and skews are dropping and skews are rising, and that's the basic sum of it. Another thing you must do though, the first time you run the session it doesn't really matter, but from the second week until forever, what you must do is just write an analysis of the change. You don't have to write a flippant essay. I write essays, I can't help myself, but you can write a few words just to analyze what happened. Which skews stayed the same? Why? Which skews went up? Why? Which skews went down? Why? And what are you going to do in the next week to raise that weakest link? By doing that, you're just kind of getting the cogs churning, you're building momentum, you're vocalizing it, you're getting it out of your head, and in doing so, you build this proper forward motion. And you just got to do this week after week after week after week. And let me tell you this, it should be fun. Make it fun. It's your life, and you're analyzing your life, and you're looking at ways to improve these different components, and look for fun ways. That's the whole point. Janthopyism to the nth degree. The joy. Janthopyism, joyism. That is what you have to do. Look for fun ways to raise these vibrations. And literally, that's it. That's the whole thing. By doing this, you're going to start shifting your brain to automatically seek these things in reality. You become very solution-based, you become very optimistic, and you become addicted to the rising of your life, the constant improvement of these components. This is not a quick fix solution. That's a good thing. Any belief, any program that says fast results, you know that is something to be wary of. Life doesn't work like that. Nothing of any value comes quick and easy. This is something that you work on. Your life becomes your project, and after a year, 2 years, you're gonna be like, what? What happened to me was insane. I'm not gonna go into it. I did write a bit about it in the scripture if you want to read it, but yeah, no, it's it's crazy, man. I mean, your life, you're gonna see when things go wrong long before they go wrong. And you're just going to constantly be raising these things, and before you know it, at one point you're going to reflect and go, oh my gosh, this dedication to constant improvement, surprise, surprise, has given me vast improvement, until you won't even settle for less. You become very, very focused on nothing but rising, and in that way, and in doing this, if you are unsure what your true path is, you'll find a chair, because it'll be probably most likely the skew that's continuously your strongest link. But at the same time, your weakest link is where the power is, and you're gonna eventually get super good at fixing the parts of your life that are less strong. And that's it. That is the skew system. It's just a system of rating numerical values and continuously improving them, tweaking them, trying new things, experimenting, and even though there's probably parts of your life that might score really low right now, after time, and I don't know how long, but immediately, even after the second, third session, you'll start seeing how this works. But after a year, 2 years, I've been doing this for many, many years, and I mean, those who know that I've really accelerated. Whew. So yeah, that's the promise. This will make your life so much better, and you can tell. I'm not telling you to bury an umbilical cord or to pray to the insect queen. I'm just saying, hey man, divide and conquer. Using a bit of numerical values, slightly, slowly, tuning it like a guitar. Keep your guitar in tune. Keep changing your car's oil. You have to do that in order for things to function. This is all this is: constant checkups and constant tweaks, until eventually it becomes an automated system that runs independent of you. You just check on it and go, yeah, that's running fine. Or you go, whoa, wait a minute, what happened there? Why did home slip? I could feel that home is not quite the score that it was last week. Why? What can I just do? What little changes? Just have a blast. Have a blast. As I say, I can't live without this. My entire life is the skew system. I can't even explain. Everything I do is divided into these categories. Speaking of categories, now we're going to go into them. This is where we get deep, because you don't actually realize that it's obviously there's more to each one of these skews, and this is where this is important before you rate anything. You could even probably you could maybe run the system now if you really wanted to have a test run, and then rate each skew as I cover them. So at the end of each of these chapters. But anyway, let's give it a go. So chapter 5.3, skew health. Health seems like a very obvious one. In many ways it is, but what's important to note about health is that it is probably the most important one, because if health falls, if your health skew falls, you get sick, you get injured, it's like every other skew falls. It's the bottom of the pile, and if it falls, everything falls. And if you neglect health, you will die faster. That's the crazy thing. And eventually, it is the health skew that will kill you, most likely. I mean, yes, of course it is. It's your body. So, what we really have to look at is health in different perspectives. Because you want the body to live as long as possible, because that's how you maximize your contribution to evolution. Again, Janthopoyism is a future-based philosophy. If you die, that's the end of your future. So we want to live as long as possible, happily, and in what way contribute to the entire system, especially if your body's functioning properly. So let's look at these are all very obvious, I'm sorry, but you have to do this. This is it. Because these things are obvious, that means it's true. I'm not giving you some crazy new mind-blowing untested revelations here. I'm giving you tried and tested. Any flippin' person will agree with you. You go speak to a dietitian, nutritionist, bodybuilder, they're going to tell you the same stuff. And this goes for each skew. It's just logical stuff. So here we go. Health. These are the factors of health that you need to take into account. Number 1, exercise. Fitness, obviously. But again, don't be scared of this. Some people love to work out. That's great. You've got this covered. Some people don't. But it doesn't have to be a big thing. Go for walks or cycle to places or just find a class that really syncs with your passion. There are so many free classes that you can do in the world that you can test them all until you really find one that clicks with you. And if one doesn't click with you, that's because it's not meant for you. Find the stuff that brings you joy. Have joy when you exercise. Even if it's stuff like you get those exercising games, and you get like you try to find find someone who you enjoy the company of, who's good at bodybuilding or a personal trainer or whatever. Go make a social day of it. Whatever you can do, just get exercise in. It's so important. You know this. Following on that, very obvious, is the diet. You have to eat right. You know if you're doing that, if you're not doing that. Are you eating too much sugar, or are you just loading up on takeaways? Again, this is going to affect your mind. The brain is an organ, and you're messing with the chemicals if you don't eat properly. Unfortunately, it's boring, but you've got to do it. It's imperative. The trick is, as the trick is everything, you've got to find healthy things that you enjoy eating. They always exist. There's a lot of yummy, healthy stuff. Fruit, and I just love avocados. Good fat. But one thing you should do is definitely take some time. There's a lot of apps that you can do where you kind of tally up all the foods that you eat, and it tells you what you're lacking or what you're eating too much of, and just spend some time analyzing that, or even hire someone if you've got the money, and notice any nutritional deficiencies or maybe just bad habits you have, and that alone is going to make a huge difference to just your general well-being. And drink water. Speaking of which, I'm going to drink some water right now. It's not coffee, but it's water. Okay, leading on from diet is consumption, we call it. This is about stuff that you consume that isn't food, and you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about smoking, I'm talking about drugs, I'm talking about alcohols, I'm talking about even prescribed medication. Take a look at these however you see fit, but just ask yourself, are the cons outweighing the pros? That's how you know. But these things also very bad for health, so give it a thought. Next thing, maintenance. So this is what we call just kind of tune-ups that you require a professional for. Here's some examples. Dentist, your eye tests, STI tests, mole checkups, and just a general doctor visit. So that's again about maintenance. You've got to do these things, do them often, and also sometimes you will fall sick, and you got to just take that as the body telling you to slow down. Or if you injure yourself, again, it's just you got to slow down. You have to serve these things, serve the flu, serve the injury. You've got to just do what it takes to make it better. And again, if things don't get better, you got to speak to an expert. That's just a big part of it as well. And then there's other stuff like, obviously you need to get a lot of sleep. Obviously sit straight with a straight posture, which I wasn't doing right now. Take computer breaks to stretch. Spend time outside to breathe oxygen and get that sunlight. Wear sunscreen at the same time. These are obvious things for good reason, but if you just do these, and if you just take the time, don't neglect your health, this health skew is going to go up, and that's going to be covered. And you're not going to worry about this. This is not going to be your weakest link. You're going to feel great. And honestly, you're going to feel really great. I just want to quickly take a sidestep though, because I do know people, we all know people who have big health problems. And these solutions can actually sound quite insultive, because they'll be like, how dare you say these things to me, where I have contracted something really bad or developed something really bad, or I've been, since birth I've had these problems. We want you to step back and remember what we told you from the beginning. We're not telling you to solve everything. If health is your weakest link, for reasons that are just seem out of your control, we are saying just raise it by 0.5. It's always achievable. You just look for small wins. Just look for ways to make your next week better than the week before. That's all you have to do. You could do that by researching your condition, maybe in ways you haven't before. Maybe you speak to a different doctor. Whatever you can do to raise that vibration. Now, here comes a very interesting thing that you might have different thoughts about. But the health of your body comes in many ways. The body's performance is what we've been talking about, but we also got to look at it from a perspective of our bodies. Health skew is basically just what we mean by health, we mean physical. So, you know how, like, some people look in the mirror and they have these rock hard abs and they're like, yeah, my health is great. It's like, look man, you don't need rock hard abs to have a high health skew. But it helps, because you are looking at yourself going, yes, I've deserved this and I'm dedicated to this and I really love my physique. Because that's it. Health is about self-love as well. It's about looking at your body and going, I love this body. So if you're in a position where maybe you're not quite equipped to just solve your physical problems, the sneaky way to raise 0.5 is to make your body look better. It's what the cosmetic appearance side of this. So, how would you do that? You know how to do this, but here's some examples from the scripture. Cut your hair in a nice style. Maintain hygiene. Go get a massage. Get some skin products. Put on some makeup. Go get some new clothes. Even if you're not seeing anyone, shave parts that you don't like hair being there. Get a tattoo. If you don't like a part of yourself, get a tattoo on it so it becomes awesome. Get some jewelry. It's endless. But the point is, you want to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I deserve that 0.5 because look at me. Look at me. Over this last week, I've really dedicated to looking better. And then you look better, you feel better. And then what's going to happen as well is you're going to build the momentum, and your brain's going to start clicking into this way of thinking of oh my god, I'm starting to feel a little bit better with my health. And you know what I could try this, I can try that, and then it snowballs, and the ideas are coming in because you've stopped throttling the communication with the external universe. So here's, just to wrap up, I just want to say the thing about the skew system is that every single component is important to helping your mental health, and because it's all about getting your mind clear and rushing forward without these hindrances. But so when people talk about the health skew, we're not talking about mental health necessarily, because all these factors, all these skews play into fixing mental health. But one thing that the health skew is unique is that it's about your brain as an organ. Your brain is an organ, so you've got to treat it like any other organ. You've got to exercise it. You've got to by eating the right foods and making sure you're getting out and about and living your life in that way. Your brain produces the chemicals required to function with a level of happiness. So, just on a physical tissue kind of manner, it is imperative to your happiness that your brain as an organ, and everything, your heart as an organ, your lungs as an organ, that they're all functioning high up. Otherwise, all of this is useless. And I would like to just finish this chapter by saying, all of the scripture that you're hearing and you've been reading of me talking, I am almost embarrassed of how much has been written when I'm running. When I run, that's when my brain clears up. That's when the ideas fall in. I can't even tell you. I stop and have to tap on my phone every time. It's crazy. Running is the closest I've come to some sort of a spiritual thing. Chapter 5.4, Skew Relationships. I know this is what a lot of people are interested in, so we're going to dive right into this. So, relationships, obviously, when someone says relationships, the first thing that comes to mind is like the romantic partnership of a one-on-one person, or more, if you like that. But it's not that simple. There are other relationships, because we're talking about just relationships with people. It can be colleagues, family members, housemates, your community, even your pets. This is just about connections to other beings, really. But romantic relationships are obviously hugely important. And they're also very tricky because you can't, all the other skews, you can kind of achieve them by yourself, but relationships you can't, because you actually need someone else. So there isn't like a foolproof method. You can't go to the store and buy a relationship, or just order your soulmate. It doesn't work like that. So we have to look at this from that perspective of that there's another party involved, there's another mind. It gets a little trickier, but here's the best I could do for you. So there are when you look at monogamous relationships, there's kind of three places you can be. Generally, you're either single and you really want someone to love, or you already have someone and you want to keep it forever, or you have someone and it's kind of not what it used to be and you'd love to rekindle it. Those are the kind of monogamous relationship positions. So let's just take that one thing at a time, because and unfortunately this is going to be a bit loose because there's no one size fits all. As we've said, there's like different people involved, so we can't just tell you what's going to work for you and what other people are just going to agree with. But this is what I can say, is that we live in this beautiful, beautiful world with so many avenues at the moment. There are, just using the internet alone, there are so many online dating platforms. There are so many meetups that happen where people come and have social gatherings. And yeah, there's just venues everywhere that have opportunities for you to meet humans. So you have to find which ones kind of gel with you. Maybe you find a specific dating platform where you can really present a good version of yourself, or maybe it's like what you love in life, and you know that there's kind of groups where you can go and meet people in that like-minded topic. But you just got to find what resonates for you. And here's the thing: finding the love of your life, that's not something that we can tell you how to do, because it doesn't really work like that. But what it really is about just meeting as many people as possible, kind of like a numbers game. Don't go, which one of these people is going to be my love of my life? Say, each one of these people will probably have something to offer me. Everyone's different. There's some topic that they would give you information. So just look to meet people and see how they can fit into your life. And some people won't fit into your life, and other people will be really good friends, or other people could be business partners. But the more people you meet, the more these roles are going to come into your life. And of course, statistically, some of these people are going to connect on a romantic level. And even better, if you approach it from this attitude of just like, hey, whoever you are, I'm happy to have you in my life, and at the same time my life is amazing because I'm really focusing on my true path, I'm really doing what I love, the energy you're exuding is going to be real high quality, and they're going to pick up on that, I'll tell you that. So if there's an individual out there for you and they see you living your life in that way, they're going to be drawn to you, man. That's how it works. So then, for some of us, we've already met the person, and you're super in love, and that's the best feeling ever, and it's absolute insanity. But it always doesn't last forever, that feeling, you know what I mean? Like, that initial kind of honeymoon period is like so crazy and intense, but it's good thing that doesn't stay that way, because you're just blind and it's just madness. So things eventually settle down, and you start noticing things that are undesirable, but also things that you like. And that's when it actually becomes more fun, because that's when it's the challenge of maintaining a relationship and trying to get into like bond over different things, and just become a team rather than just this whirlwind of infatuation. So yeah, I think the main thing is just enjoy the entire process, and look at it from that perspective. What Janthopoyism teaches is that when you connect with someone and you fall in love with them, that part of them is always there. But when you start to notice things that are like less than perfect, which everyone has, which you have, those things get bigger. You look at the faults and you start noticing the faults, and then the faults annoy you, and then every time you see that person, you start to see their faults, and that's why relationships kind of bug out. So instead of doing that, the best thing you can do really is just ignore that and focus on the things that you love, and compliment them on the stuff that you love, and praise them, buy them stuff, and just really shower them with these good emotions. And the person that's going to reflect back at you is going to be so incredible. That's how it works. You can literally bring out the person you want them to be simply by focusing on those parts that you like, and by complimenting them on those parts. They're going to want to give more of that to you. And just don't worry about things that you don't like, because there's always going to be stuff. But if you do this, you can nurture this connection forever. Of course, sometimes relationships just go sour, and it's too late, and they've done something maybe that really hurts you, or you've done something, or there's just some kind of a fundamental disagreement that just won't work, and it becomes a toxic relationship, which happens. I don't believe, or Janthopodism teaches, that there's no such thing as a toxic person. There's just toxic dynamics. That person who's toxic to you could really, really connect with someone who is equally as toxic, or whatever you want to say, according to your perspective. But the point is that two people no longer connect. And if that's the case, and you really do have this dark energy, and your relationship skew is so low because of this person you're with, then what can I tell you? You've got to get out. You just got to get out. There's no way if you want to raise that skew, get out. You've got to just commit to it. Oh, it's not that simple. I don't care. Make it that simple. Get out. However, if this keeps happening to you, if every relationship seems like a repeat of a pattern, then it isn't your partner. It's you. You're either looking for the wrong people, or you're focusing on the wrong things, and that's where your task with the skew comes in. Sometimes relationships end, of course they do, and then your little heart breaks, and that's horrible, and it's the worst feeling. Trust me, I know. Also, like, someone can die. It's a very similar feeling to that, like a loss of someone. It's so hectic, and when that happens, your relationship skew is going to plummet, and it's going to be very low numbers. Maybe that's where you are right now. What we actually suggest in times like this is that maybe the weakest link is not what you need to focus on now, because you can't really do much. So it would be maybe a good time to focus on the different skew, maybe the second weakest link, or even your strongest link, because you've proper hit now. You've been hit. Your whole life has been sent spiraling because of your relationship skew, and you're not going to fix it right now. So the best thing you can do is build momentum by focusing on a different skew. So just keep that in mind if that's where you are. Maybe the skews, your relationship skew's fucked, and then it's time to just let it breathe. At the same time, don't get wrapped up on this idea that the relationship skew is all about your love life. It hugely is part of it, but there's other ways you can work on the skew. And it's just about strengthening your bond with anyone else, any human being. Go meet up with a friend. Go meet up with someone who you lost contact with. Throw a party. Go talk to a stranger. A big one to raise the relationship skew is to go make peace with someone who you're currently arguing with. That will have a huge benefit. Or like, if you really just want to maybe go play with the dog for a while. Like, playing with dogs really helps the bond with the kind of external being. And those little things you can do are just ideas to just bump it up by a meager 0.5. And if you can get these numbers bumping up, and your gatekeeper of your mind starts getting on board and starts looking for positive affirmations on the romance, you're going to start seeing it in reality. All you got to do is bump up that 0.5, however you can do it. And that's it for that one. But also just want to say, just be very, very cautious about the people that you hang out with. Sometimes we do have friends who are pessimistic. We have friends who are very paranoid. If these things don't sit right with you and you get a bit of a dark feeling about a human, you don't have to be rude. You just can move on to another human, because there's billions of humans. So just make sure the company that you keep is inspiring, is optimistic, is future-based, and that will be immeasurable how that manifests around you. So yeah, just keep your company, pick it very wisely. Chapter 5.5, Skew Home. Home seems like a weird one. People overlook home. The other ones make a lot of sense, but people will kind of be like, what do you mean by home? So home is super important, because home is your sanctuary, right? This is your safe space. It's where you come home and you get peace. It's like where you wake up and where you go to bed. It's so important. That's like the center of your world. I do believe my bed is the center of the world. So you have to focus on this as important as all the others. But what's cool about home is that it's actually quite fun, and it's one of the easiest ones to kind of rejuvenate. So I really, this is a great one. So how we recommend you come up with your home score is you start with the bed and work your way outward. So first of all, like when you wake up or go to bed, like, how is your bed? Is it like, are you happy with your bed? Is it soft? Is it firm? Is it warm? Is it quiet when you go to sleep? Does it look nice? I mean, your pillow alone, you need to really be sure about your pillow. If any of these things are wrong, you got to fix that to raise that vibration. Your bed needs to be brilliant. Then expand from your bed into your room. Once again, it has to reflect you. It has to be brilliant. Your room really should be your favorite place on the earth. If it's not, why isn't it? I mean, this is your place. It's whatever you want it to be. Why is it not your favorite place on the planet? It's your place. It needs to be. It needs to reflect you as a person. You need to have enough space for your stuff. This is your holy habitat of rest. The rest of the world is not allowed inside unless you give them invitation. So you need to look at your room. Look at it very, very carefully. Because if you're unsettled in your room, if you're unsettled in your house, in your home, there's going to be knots in your system. You need to want to come home at the end of the day. You need to enjoy waking up there. If you don't, you're building your life on a very wobbly, knotty foundation. So again, move out from the room. Look at the house. Is everything functioning? Is your house presentable? Are you paying the right amount for it? Is your landlord okay? How's the transport options? Kind of blurring into relationship territory, but how are the people that you're living with? Are you happy with them? Are your pets okay? These things are all very important to evaluate, and if any of them are a little bit faulty, you can address them to raise the vibration if needs be. Tidiness and cleanliness. I'm an artist, and as an artist, we always kind of told it's okay to be cluttered around because you're just creative. But I've come to learn, and Janthopodism is very much on this, is that we're about keeping the mind clean. And if there's stuff all over the place, you're going to be distracted, and you're trying to find things, or you're tripping over things, or there's just in your peripheral vision there's just a bunch of stuff. It messes with your mental patterns, and coming home to chaos is not the way to streamline your evolution. I'm telling you now, just keep things clean and tidy, and that's a big part of it. So keep things organized and keep things clean. You know, if something's dirty, clean it. If something's broken, replace it. If your papers are everywhere, sort them out. If you've got furniture that doesn't vibe well with you, replace it. Add plants. Paint colors that you love. Change, research feng shui and reorder things in that kind of energetic alignment. These things are so easy to do, so easy, and they'll make such a big impact on your life and your general well-being, and you're just gonna love it, man. If it's broken, fix it. If it's boring, change it. It's just such a skew hack. If anything's going wrong in your life, just clean your room, man. I'm telling you. But you also have to go further than your house. You got to go, what your neighbors like. Do you like your streets, your entire neighborhood, your city, your country, your continent? Is this where you want to be? And if not, these are the things to think about. Again, we're not saying up and move, even though you can just up and move. It's like that's if you really hate your home, that's how easily it is. Just find a way to get out of there. You can do that. You can't do that with the other skews. But really what you're looking for is just to raise your vibes by 0.5. Just look at little tasks that you can fix, which is so easy, and really it'll just roll. And home skews precious, man. Home skews where you spend time with your loved ones. It's where you bond with housemates. Home skew also, like if you're traveling, like me, traveler, like my home changes a lot, so I have to be quite careful about this. In one way it's great, but I'm always in a different room, so I have little ways that I have to make sure that I care for each place I land in. But again, how beautiful is that, So treat your home with care and with pride, and that is what adds to your peace of mind and relaxation. So do not overlook that one, as much as it feels easy to do. Chapter 5.6, Work. Skew work. Another obvious one, but not as obvious as you think. Now, work is split into different things as well, but when we think of work, most of us think of our job. We think of okay, what are we giving our energy towards, and then getting money for it. And that's true. That is a big part of what we're talking about here. And on that topic, we can't ignore finances. So when we talk about work skew, we also are talking about finances. How much energy are you giving away? And are you getting the right money for that energy? And is it enough to maintain the lifestyle that allows your true path to run free? Money is a complicated subject, but it really shouldn't be. People say, it's the root of all evil, or people kind of see it as the prize at the edge, the end of the rainbow prize, the big pot of gold. It's neither of those things, or it's both those things. It's whatever you allow it to be. But as we just said, all money it's cutting out the middleman. You have specific energy that you can give on a daily basis. Obviously, when you trained in certain skill sets, that energy becomes more powerful. And when you give that energy to someone, and they give you money for it, and then that money you can pay for someone else's energy. It's a trade of energy, but it's just given a tangible trade thing. It's not a big deal. People go crazy about money, and I know that it is, but I feel sorry for people like that. I mean, obviously you need to earn enough money. That's important. If you're living outside your financial means, there's so much stress along with that. And if you don't have money and you can't afford basic necessities, that's huge problems, and that your work skew is going to really, really fall. But you don't have to look at it in such a profound way of it being super evil or super important. You just got to make sure that you're getting what you should get for what you're giving. We're going to go into this very, very soon. But one thing to note is how money you probably don't need as much as you think you do. You can always find what you want to do and get for cheaper. And also, a lot of people want more money and then they get more money and their lives don't change. And that's because they're just not really looking after the money they get. So, budget. I know that's a boring one, but this is a part of it. Maybe that's how you raise your 0.5. Start by budgeting. Now, we have to address certain types of people. One of which are people who are super rich, and they don't have to think about money at all. And you'd think, that's great. And you probably find that people like that, they'll rate their work skew high. They'll be like, well, I don't really have to work, or I barely do anything, and I have all this money, and so my work skew is at an 8.5 or something. But for some reason, they're still feeling really funny, and they say, why is the skew system saying that my life is so great when I don't feel that great? And it's like, well, that might be because you've lost the idea of struggle and reward, and you've kind of have no idea how like what it means to have a routine and giving up your energy for this kind of value of other people. So we do say, if you're super rich, nice one, but you should get a job anyway. Always get a job. Have a job. It does give purpose. It makes you get up in the morning because you have responsibilities, and it does add meaning to your path, which we will discuss as we go on. There are also people who have completely gotten rid of money, and they say they go live out on a farm, and they live off the earth, and they have self-sustaining methods, and they're off the grid. That's perfect. How amazing is that? But that's you're removing the money, sure, but you're not removing the work. That's more work. You're gonna have to work, put your energy, but instead of getting money back, you're gonna get food, or you're gonna get clothing, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So the work still maintains, even when you remove the money. So anyway, for most of us, we have a job, and so let's look at ways that might be troubled. As we said already, maybe you're not being paid enough. Who is, right? Or you might feel you're overworking. You might be working with people that you don't like, your colleagues or your customers. Maybe your boss is a wanker. And one of the worst ones is that your job itself is something you have no emotional connection with. You don't believe in the product or whatever. So if these are the problems, then those are the things you need to look at. Small ways that you can raise the 0.5 of. If one of these issues ring true, that's what you're going to look at. If that's your low, your weakest link. But here's the thing. Work, you should love it. It's so important, man. You should be doing something that you love, because then you know why? The energy you're going to give is going to be way better. And also, it's going to be better than anyone else doing your job. And then, you know what's going to happen? The better quality energy, the more it's worth, and the more money you're going to make. I would recommend, if you hate your job and you would happily call in sick every day, look for another job. There are a lot of jobs out there. There is a lot of employment. Money is abundant. And if you have to study something on the side, you should be doing that anyway. You should be learning how to do stuff all the time. Stuff that you love to do. You need to love it. And then just by looking for a job, if you go on the job boards and you spend half an hour a day kind of seeing what's out there, maybe applying to a few, that actually might give you 0.5, and the momentum will build. So if work is your weakest link, hate your job, look for another job. Build that momentum. You have to love your professional life. That's the thing. You need to love every part of it, because it's such a huge part of life, and so many people hate their jobs, and you're never ever going to contribute to evolution to the best of your ability on your true path if you don't do what you love. But now you see, here comes the deeper part of this, because there's work, as in your job, and the money side of it, but underneath the same umbrella are your hobbies and your passions. It's the stuff that you love putting energy into, even when there's no monetary value. Your spare moments you just love to dedicate to this, probably find that the true path is in that. What you love to spend your spare time in, whatever it is, and what just fills you with inspiration and passion and motivation, those are the things that you are supposed to be doing because they connect with you on that level. And you have to dedicate time to this as a priority, whatever it takes. If you get up earlier, if you spend your lunch breaks, if you work after work on these projects that you love, the point is, if you do that, you're gonna get better at it, and hopefully, eventually, that can become the thing that you can make the money off of. When it comes to the work skew, the formula is so simple. It's 3 parts: finding what you're good at, finding what you love to do, and finding what people want. Those 3 elements, where they overlap, is exactly what you are meant to be doing, and you find that that's actually what your true path is. It's what you're really putting the energy into, that you love putting the energy into because it inspires you and you love to do it, and no one will do it as good as you because no one will be as enthusiastic as you. And if you can do it in a way that contributes to society's appetite, then the money comes in. And so that is the ultimate goal. But as we say, for now, just 0.5s, baby steps. Chapter 5.7, Skew Spirit. You see the Janthopodism logo, and there's those 5 dots. Those 5 dots represent the skews. There's a dot inside the circle, the center. That's the spirit skew. The reason why it's inside the circle is because it's kind of this gray area between the external and the internal. But it still falls into this whole external, circumstantial way of dealing with life and ensuring that you zoom on forward. It's a very difficult skew to explain because it's more dealing with a invisible concept. But the best way to explain it is that it's one of existentialism. Someone might have all the things. You look at the 4 previous skews. They could be super healthy, peak physical condition, married their dream partner, socializing with brilliant people, super chilled in their mansion, and they have a high-paying job, and they're passionate about the job. But these people, and this is well documented, actually Hinduism has documented quite a bit about this, about how you still will feel quite lost at some point. Something will still feel missing, because what it is, it's just the bigger question of like, why am I here, and does my life have purpose, and like, would my death even matter? It doesn't matter what you have in life, in a materialistic sense. This even the richest people in the world can have this kind of crisis. Now, when it comes to the spirit subject, some people have no problems with it, because these are people who have a deeper connection to a higher power. People who are very religious or highly spiritual people don't have this kind of, oh, what does it all mean? What does it all matter? Am I even useful? Because they've already made this kind of peace with the spiritual side of them. And that's great. And if you're one of those people, nice one. Keep doing that. Keep praying and meditating and doing your rituals and worship. Beautiful thing. And Janthopodism itself, that's what we're all about. If you look at the first books of our scripture, it's a lot about coming to understand the universe on a more spiritual basis. But we understand for some people struggle with this. Atheists, you can't talk about a spiritual essence or some kind of a higher power connection because they slam the door on you. And this is a part of evolution. This is actually part of the spiritual and social evolution that people have come to favor certain theories than others. We have to address that. But still, even atheists get these overwhelming senses of dread, where they're unsure if their life is what it's supposed to be, and they can't put their finger on it because they seem to have everything else. And that's going to be what we refer to as the spirit skew. And you have to admit that even if you don't believe in a higher power, this kind of feeling of emptiness or self-worth that isn't really, it doesn't really get covered by the previous skews, it's a legit concern that you have to fix. So how Janthopodism has gone about this is to look at it as ensuring the world is better off with you being here. Whether or not you comprehend a kind of collective universe as divinity or as some kind of a singular entity, or if you just want to just feel like you actually matter, what you can do is spend energy on benefiting your immediate environment in a positive manner, not by looking after yourself, but by looking after other people and other things. And again, we're not talking about have this being some kind of a profound practice. There are so many small little ways that you can do this, and I urge you to go look at the scripture, because we have a nice long list of tiny little things that you can do. I'll just throw a couple of out, but you just don't litter, look after the environment, be ethical products, plant a tree, contact your family, don't ignore the homeless, try to give money to the homeless or at least greet them, don't insult people, don't boast, teach stuff rather than hoarding knowledge, tidy up your mess, tidy up other people's messes, don't waste water, don't stick gum in strange places, let someone in front of you at the grocery store, take photos for passing tourists. These kind of small little things, it's all just about becoming considerate. It's about getting up to a level of consideration of the world around you, and then assisting the evolution of the environment. Doing the right thing. You know what this is. You know from a moral perspective where you sit. So apply this. Just be good to people. Be good to your environment. Be good to other beings. Make sure that when you die, it's a loss for the world. You know what I'm saying there? When you die, make sure the world is worse off because you're gone. How you do that is making sure that decisions that you make are about benefiting people and things, animals, plants, general environment that aren't you. Just quickly, this doesn't mean just giving blindly to a charity. I know a lot of people do that. I'll give to a charity. That doesn't mean anything. It's so much better for this skew is if you actually go give the money to someone who needs the money. See the look on their face. Have that human exchange. Buy someone some food. Give some money to the person begging on the street. Who cares what they spend it on? The point is that you saying, hey, I'm a human and you're a human, and I'm in this position and you're in that position, and I'm willing to give you this to you. But don't. Here's the big one. This is my favorite. Don't tell anyone. Don't take a selfie of your charitable deeds, because then it's not altruism. Then it's boasting, and it's self-appointed pats on the back. Both the Quran and the Bible talk about giving charity in secret. Serve others, but never to serve yourself or to make yourself seem cool. Do it in private. Don't tell your friends, don't tell anyone that you've done it. That's when you're actually really doing the right thing. And another thing you can do, which is even the best thing ever, is once you know what your passion is, whatever it is, you can use that passion to directly benefit someone else. That's the true win-win. Whatever it is that you're good at and your skill set allows you to do better than other people, find a way to push that energy towards someone who's in a disadvantaged position. Whether it's making something creative for them, or whether it's just helping them in some sort of a way that fills you with joy. This whole idea that charity has to be, we're guilt tripped into charity, and it's such a ridiculous concept, where charity itself and giving to people should be thrilling. You should love to do it, and it should be something that you enjoy the process of, because that's what we're talking about. We just spoke about that in the work skew. As soon as you're loving what you do and it benefits those around you. That is the true path. This is what we keep banging on. That's the true path. And a couple of other things that we could say about raising your skew spirit by 0.5. One of them is gratitude. Be as grateful as you possibly can for everything that you have. Focus on those. Go through a list of things that you're thankful for, and that will lift your spirit because you're looking at how lucky you are to be here. Another thing that really, really messes with the spirit skew is when you do something that's against your morals. You know, people do make mistakes. We do sometimes tend to do something and we go, oof, I shouldn't have done that. You know, I shouldn't have maybe stolen something, or like I shouldn't have said that thing up to someone, or I shouldn't have watched that weird thing online. You know, these are mishaps that because we're humans, and our brains are part of the whole conflict system. We are going to make mistakes. It's very important, but that will knock your spirit skew down. Every time you do something that's against your predefined morals, that is going to like taking a flipping sledgehammer to the thing. So you just gotta, every time you make that mistake, find ways to secure the boundaries, put things in place to ensure that doesn't happen again. The thing about spiritual alignment is that there's no ceiling to it. Like people, you know, there's been the best, healthiest person in the world, or the longest living person in the world, or like the richest man in the world. But like with spiritual, it's like there's no way to measure it, so it's one of those weird skews that like can really go way up high. I mean, there's people who live in the Indian mountains who are levitating. I don't know if that's true, but you know what I'm saying? Like spiritual masters, there really is just there's just no way of really seeing where the peak is. But with the thing when it comes to your own spiritual philosophies is that it's just a quest, and it'll be a lifelong quest. And just by committing to that quest, which I've done, and hopefully you're doing, just by being here with Janthopodism, that alone, just dedicating time to that, and reading books and listening to spiritual masters, like, not that I'm a spiritual master at all, but there's lots of them on YouTube, that will raise your vibration. You can find your 0.5 by just watching YouTube videos, I swear. But even best, and the best thing, and I'm telling you this from first-hand experience, write your philosophies down in your own words, articulate them, and then try to work out what the universe means to you, and what spirituality means to you, and your place, and humans' place, and write essays, write books, or write just little notes, because it takes this entire crazy mysticism of the energy behind the universe and puts it into your own words, and it's your voice talking to you, and then your internal monologue will adapt that kind of perception, and then that will massively shoot up your spirit. And if all this fails, just watch comedy. If you're laughing, genuinely laughing, like, your spirit's in a good place, because it's an emotional response. Laughter's the thing. If you get spirit skew really high, all the other skews can kind of dissipate in a way, because you transcend it into this wider picture where like the whole world and all life just becomes this kind of crazy miracle. And if you have an injury, it just seems so irrelevant because you're so in tune with this greater power. But at the same time, you'll often find that the spirit skew becomes a dumping ground. Like, it's just because it's so ambiguous, sort of what it is, and like you get an emotional wobble, and you're like, oh, I don't know why I feel this way. I feel a bit strange, so maybe it's a spiritual thing. Again, that's kind of like not right way to do it. Just be very careful with the skew system when it comes to the spirits, is what I'm trying to say, is because no skew, not even spirituality, is more critical than the other. And it's important that if things are out of whack, and if skew's constantly your lowest, make sure there's not something that you're missing. Are you lonely? Are you unhealthy? Have you you're not sleeping well? That's not spirit skew. Even though your emotions are out of whack, be careful of just shoveling on there. That's important. But yeah, otherwise, just smash this one, and everything else will just be so much easier, because you just connect with that place where it's like, oh, everything makes more sense. Finally, chapter 5.8, Nifty Tips and Tricks. And I'm not even going to go into this. I'm sorry, but this is quite a long chapter, and this is because I've been running the system for so long, and I've discovered many ways that you can like hack things, combine things, play things in between each other, how to like just really just smash it, and like how to deal with certain things without like, yeah, it's like how to jack it up, like when things are already firing really well on a high caliber of vibrations. This stuff is super cool, but there's no point in going into this, because if you're not running the system, this is irrelevant. So what I recommend, listen to what I said, go back and read chapter 5.2 again, which will remind you how to run it, and then start running it on a weekly basis. And if you're doing that, then come to chapter 5.8, read the Nifty Tips and Tricks, and you'll go, damn, this guy knows what he's talking about, because I do. I've been doing this for a long time, and you're gonna, if you do this, I implore you so hard, if you just do this, it's so crazy what's gonna happen. This is the whole point. We're talking about a true path. We're talking about zipping down this like frictionless amazement that's completely congruent with who you are, and where life is going to throw obstacles at you that are so in tune with who you are that you're going to solve them and contribute to the evolution, while these other little naggy bits that other people are constantly struggling with just bounce off you, because you're constantly maintaining an awareness of it and ensuring that the program is running regularly and smoothly, and also constantly improving it. And so it just becomes this self-automated, beautiful thing that's so transformative. I mean, I'm just so in awe of this. It's my favorite part of Janthopodism. So that's it. I really hope you listen to me on this one. Because this is, if you really start to do this, your life is going to change, and you're going to go, wow, maybe I should pay attention to the rest of Janthopodism, because coming up next is book 6, which is the internal worship. This is where we kind of, instead of looking at it as a circumstantial thing, it's more when we kind of look at ourselves when things come to us, and how we react to them immediately. It's kind of, it's like saying, okay, so once you get rid of all the little naggy bits that the skew system polishes and sweeps away from you, and you start really rushing down the beauty of the true path, and then things start to come at you that are more that way, and more in tune with who you are, how to deal with that, because it can be really intense. And also, a lot of it's about really finding your true path, and how to know you're on your true path, and how to maximize that. So that's the pencil program, which is book 6 coming up real soon. And that's it. I hope you have a wonderful day. I am currently in Zimbabwe. I'm at Victoria Falls. I saw them yesterday for the first time in my life. They're pretty epic. They are the biggest waterfalls in the world. So when you see that, you do get this kind of feeling of a greater, higher power. If you don't believe in a higher power, go try to fight Victoria Falls, and you'll realize that the Victoria Falls are a higher power than you. And then why stop there? There's this infinite universe of power that will crush you like a little bug if you are silly and try to fight a waterfall, for example. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much. Again, I really enjoyed this, and I will be sending the next one soon. Much love to you, and thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Jared Talk.